Humans are the apex predators of the universe, not because of their strength, but because of their sheer madness, Professor Gall declared, his scaled hand gesturing toward the glowing hologram of Earth rotating in the darkened lecture hall. The room, filled with students of a dozen species, fell silent. Gall's fiery yellow eyes scanned the crowd, daring someone to challenge him. A Nixon with translucent skin raised a claw. "With respect, Professor, aren't humans one of the weaker species? Their musculature and sensory organs are unimpressive. Even their technology lagged behind for millennia." Gall hissed a chuckle, his spiny back quivering as he paced. "Weak? Yes, in many ways. But if you think strength or size determines dominance, then you've never met a human on the battlefield." "Allow me to explain." He tapped the control pad and the hologram shifted, zooming in on Earth's surface. Images of humans flashed in rapid succession, tribes hunting mammoths, soldiers charging trenches, explorers crossing deserts. Each scene captured their resilience, their ingenuity, their relentless drive. Humans in their primal form were fragile, unremarkable primates. Yet they outlasted predators far more powerful than themselves. Why? Because they don't just adapt, they conquer. A reptilian student from the far corner clicked his talons skeptically. Conquest isn't unique. Many species expand and dominate their environments. "True," Gall said, pointing at the student with one sharp claw. "But humans don't just dominate their environments. They master them. They're not content with surviving, they must win. And to win, they'll rewrite the rules of nature itself." He gestured, and the hologram displayed a human forging tools from stone. They lacked claws, so they created weapons. They couldn't outrun predators, so they built traps. They didn't have wings, but they learned to fly higher and farther than any avian species. "Do you see? Their weakness fuels their ingenuity." Another student, a hulking Vorsk covered in thick fur, rumbled in a deep voice. "That explains survival, but not their aggression. Why are humans feared across the galaxy?" "Ah, the aggression." Gall's fangs gleamed in a sinister smile. "Humans are not natural-born killers like your kind, Vorsk. No, they are something far more dangerous. They are learned killers. Their history is soaked in war, not because they enjoy it, but because conflict has always been their teacher. Each battle hones their tactics, refines their tools, and sharpens their resolve." The hologram shifted again, displaying a human battlefield. Smoke rose as soldiers advanced under relentless fire, their faces battered but defiant. They fight with an unrelenting hunger for victory. They will risk everything, sacrifice everything, for a chance to win, a sharp voice interjected. "But surely their willingness to sacrifice themselves is a weakness?" Gall turned sharply to the student, a pale-skinned Vacron with 6 luminous eyes. "On the contrary, it's their greatest strength. No species sacrifices like humans. They'll charge into certain death if it means ensuring their comrades live. They'll burn their own worlds to deny an enemy the chance to claim them. Their self-destruction is a weapon, and they wield it with precision." The room was quiet again, the students exchanging uneasy glances. Gall could sense their discomfort. None of them wanted to admit they feared humans, but fear was the right response. He knew that better than most. "Let me give you an example," he continued. 4 centuries ago, the galaxy learned of humans during the Orion conflict. At first, we dismissed them as primitives with crude ships and limited weaponry. A coalition of 13 species sought to claim their system, believing it an easy conquest. We underestimated them. He tapped the control pad again. A grainy recording appeared, showing fleets of alien warships descending on Earth's orbit. The coalition arrived with 100 armadas. They had superior firepower, advanced shielding, and years of experience waging interstellar war. The humans? They had desperation and an endless willingness to innovate. Gall's voice grew deeper, filled with something close to reverence. The first wave of human resistance was pure chaos. They threw everything they had: outdated ships, improvised weapons, even explosives launched from the surface. They didn't fight like warriors. They fought like predators backed into a corner, lashing out with terrifying unpredictability. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the room. Within 6 months, the coalition's losses were staggering. Not because humans were stronger, but because they were smarter. They analyzed every battle, adapted their strategies, and turned our own tactics against us. They made allies of other species, used their terrain to their advantage, and weaponized ideas no one else would even consider. A Lortec student with metallic skin shifted nervously. Are you saying their desperation won them the war? Desperation alone isn't enough, Gaal corrected. It was their mindset. Humans see the impossible as a challenge. When they're told something can't be done, they respond with, "Watch me." And when they succeed, it's never enough. They push further, test new limits, and shatter every expectation. The hologram shifted to a final image. A human fleet, rebuilt and bristling with weapons, surrounding a coalition armada. The recording played, showing humans issuing a demand for surrender. The coalition leaders laughed at their audacity. Then the humans unleashed weapons unlike anything we'd ever seen. Technologies they'd developed in the chaos of war. Within hours, the coalition was defeated. The class was silent now, every student captivated. Gaal leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Humans are predators because they don't fear the unknown. They run toward it. They dominate because they never stop striving for more. And they win because they refuse to lose. He let the words hang in the air, watching as the students absorbed the weight of his lecture. For a moment, he considered ending it there. But no, there was still so much more to explain. They had yet to understand the full depth of what made humans the most feared and respected species in the universe. Gaal's lecture was only just beginning. Gaal paced slowly across the lecture hall, letting his claws tap against the metal floor. The tension in the room was thick as the students processed his words. He had seen this reaction before. Every semester, when he taught this lesson, the same thing happened. Disbelief, followed by awe, and finally an uncomfortable acceptance of the truth. "They're just humans," muttered a Saren student, his bioluminescent crest dimming with unease. "Surely there are limits to their capabilities." Gaal stopped and turned sharply to the Saren, his gaze like a dagger. "Limits? Of course they have limits. Every species does. But the thing that separates humans from the rest of us is that they treat limits as temporary inconveniences. For humans, a limitation is merely a puzzle to solve, a wall to break, or, when all else fails, a force to circumvent." He gestured again, and the hologram changed. A barren world appeared on the screen, its surface scorched and cracked, with nothing but ash and ruins remaining. This is Galactic Prime. Some of you may know the story. For those who don't, let me enlighten you. The hologram zoomed in, revealing the skeletal remains of structures long since abandoned. Galactic Prime was a thriving colony world of the Turkashi Empire, a fortress world equipped with the galaxy's most advanced planetary defenses at the time. The Turkashi were confident it was impenetrable. Then, the humans came. Gaal tapped the control again, and the image shifted to a fleet of human ships, battered and outdated compared to the sleek Turkashi vessels. The Turkashi believed the humans' attack was laughable. They had every reason to think so. Gareth's planetary shields could withstand orbital bombardment for years. But the humans didn't try to break through the shield. No, they did something else. The hologram began to animate, showing how the humans approached the planet. Their fleet didn't engage in a traditional assault. Instead, they released massive pods into the planet's atmosphere. These pods were filled with a chemical compound engineered in human laboratories, a compound that disrupted Galactic Prime's environment in ways the Turkashi never anticipated. They poisoned the air, corrupted the soil, and turned the planet's own ecosystem against its inhabitants. The room was deathly quiet. Galactic Prime fell in weeks, Gaal continued. The humans never fired a single shot at the shield. They didn't need to. They rendered the planet uninhabitable, forcing the Turkashi to flee. To humans, every battlefield is a problem with countless solutions, and they are willing to embrace solutions others would deem unthinkable. One of the larger students, a hulking Korgon with armored plates lining his body, grumbled, "It sounds like they don't fight fair." Gaal barked a short, sharp laugh. "Fight fair? Do you think the universe fights fair? Do you think predators in the wild give their prey a chance to escape? Humans understand a fundamental truth. Fairness is a construct of the weak. When survival is on the line, the only rule is victory. The Korgon shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing more. Gaal pressed on, his voice gaining momentum. Their ingenuity, their adaptability, these are traits we can study, but they are not the whole story. What truly makes humans terrifying is something far deeper, something primal. He turned back to the hologram, which now displayed Earth's history of war and conflict. Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They're not the fastest or the most advanced, but they have something no other species has in quite the same measure: the capacity for relentless defiance. The hologram played scenes from Earth's past: a human astronaut planting a flag on the moon, a soldier shielding his wounded comrade under fire, a worker repairing a starship hull in the vacuum of space with nothing but determination and ingenuity. Defiance is in their blood, Gaal said. They defy gravity to reach the stars. They defy nature to build civilizations in deserts and on frozen tundras. And when faced with an enemy, they defy odds that would break any other species. A young student, barely more than a hatchling, hesitated before raising his claw. But why? Why do they defy? What drives them? Gaal smiled faintly. That is the question, isn't it? And the answer lies in their history. Humans evolved in a world where everything tried to kill them. Predators, disease, the elements. They had to fight for every breath, every meal, every inch of progress. Over time, that struggle became part of who they are. It's not just survival to them, it's triumph. To a human, existence itself is a challenge to be conquered. The hologram shifted again, now displaying an image of Earth's flag being raised among the stars, a symbol of their species' indomitable will. Even now, they are not satisfied with their achievements. They look to the edges of the galaxy, not out of greed or ambition, but because the unknown is the only thing that truly calls to them. Humans do not fear what lies beyond the darkness. They seek it out. The students exchanged uneasy glances. Gaal could see the weight of his words settling on them. This was not a story about mere survival or conquest. It was a lesson in the nature of humanity, a glimpse into what made them so unstoppable. And that, Gaal said, his voice low and deliberate, is why every species in this galaxy knows one thing above all else. When you see a human fleet on the horizon, you pray they come as allies, because if they come as enemies, there is no place in the universe you can hide. He let the silence linger, his words hanging in the air like a storm cloud. But he wasn't done. There was still one final piece to this puzzle, one last truth about humanity that his students had yet to grasp. For now, though, he let them stew in their thoughts, knowing the hardest lesson was still to come. Gaal could feel the tension in the room as if it were a physical presence, pressing down on every student. He paused, letting the weight of his previous words linger before moving to the final lesson. This was the moment he had been building toward, the truth that most beings found hardest to accept. You all think humans are just another species, he said, his voice low and steady. Another life form with strengths and flaws, like any of us. But they are not. Humans are something more, something far more dangerous. The hologram changed again, now displaying a sprawling galactic map with countless star systems marked in glowing points of light. Over the last few centuries, humans have spread across the galaxy, building alliances, winning wars, and securing their place among the stars. But this isn't what makes them exceptional. He tapped the control pad, and the map zoomed out until the Milky Way was a tiny point of light, surrounded by the endless darkness of the void. The universe is vast, and its dangers are greater than anything you can imagine. There are horrors out there, forces of nature, ancient intelligences, things we cannot begin to comprehend. Every species that has ventured too far into the unknown has faced extinction. Gaal turned to his audience, his golden eyes gleaming with intensity. But humans stare into the void and smile. They see the darkness as an invitation. While others retreat, humans press forward, not because they are fearless, but because they embrace fear. They use it as fuel, They turned terror into triumph. The hologram shifted again, this time showing an image of a human expedition on a barren, desolate world at the edge of the galaxy. The team was outnumbered, outgunned, and facing conditions that should have been impossible to survive. Yet the humans not only survived, they thrived. They discovered new technologies, developed new strategies, and returned stronger than before. They've faced extinction countless times, Gaal continued. Plagues, wars, environmental collapse, even their own self-destructive tendencies. And yet, every time, they've clawed their way back. They don't just endure, they learn, they improve, they evolve. And because of that, they are the most dangerous force in the galaxy. A student raised a trembling claw. Professor, you make it sound like they are inevitable. Gaal nodded solemnly. In many ways, they are. The galaxy has learned this lesson the hard way. Time and again, humanity has been underestimated. Time and again, they've proved their doubters wrong. They are not the strongest, nor the smartest, nor the most advanced, but they are the most determined. And in the end, determination trumps everything. He stepped forward, his voice growing softer, but no less intense. What makes humans truly unique is their belief in something greater than themselves. They fight for ideals, for visions of a better future. Even when faced with insurmountable odds, they cling to hope. And hope, my students, is the most powerful weapon of all. The hologram faded, leaving the room in darkness. Gaal stood silently for a moment, letting the students absorb the magnitude of what they had just learned. Then he spoke again, his voice carrying an air of finality. So, when you ask why humans dominate the universe, remember this. They are not conquerors by birth, nor predators by design. They are survivors who chose to rise above their limitations. They are dreamers who refuse to be chained by the impossible. And they are warriors who, when all else fails, will fight to the very last man to ensure their existence. He turned off the hologram and faced the students, his fiery gaze sweeping across the room. The question you should be asking is not why humans dominate, but rather, what happens when they set their sights on something even greater? The room was silent. No one dared to speak, and Gaal knew they wouldn't. The truth was too overwhelming, too raw. He nodded to himself, satisfied that the lesson had been delivered. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the lecture hall, leaving his students alone with their thoughts.